Welcome to New Wave Global. I'm Rabia Mahmood. New Wave is an independent news site which looks at the world through a South Asian lens and relies heavily on your support. Please do subscribe, like, comment, and also give us feedback on our work. To mark the International Day of the Victims of Enforced Disappearances, we have with us Salman Haider, playwright, poet, and previously a gender studies lecturer at Fatima Jinnah University in Rawalpindi, and now a psychotherapist. He was one of the bloggers who were subjected to enforced disappearance in January 2017 for his involvement in online dissent. That is, he was one of the members who were admins of a Facebook page called Mochi, which was critical of policies of the Pakistani security establishment. The blogger's case was a watershed moment in the history of enforced disappearances campaign in Pakistan. There was also a very public campaign to get the bloggers released. There was also a fabricated and a very false smear campaign against the bloggers at the time of their disappearance, which was basically a blasphemy campaign. And eventually, there was also a blasphemy case against them. January was also when the former DG ISI, General Faiz Hamid, had started his term as DGC of the counterintelligence wing of the ISI. He's currently in military custody over a real estate corruption case. Salman, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate that you are going to share your story with us today. Please tell us what happened in January 2017. I mean, what is it like when someone like you is approached by men that we identify as unidentified men and they take you to an undisclosed location, blindfold you, put a hood on your head, and you have no access to justice or to any legal facility? What exactly happened that day?
Thank you for inviting me for this talk. This day, I was working at my with my friend. We had a theater group, so I was working with my friend for an audition and taking audition of some theater people who wanted to join us. And I left my theater group and moved to started going to my home. And whenever I was about to reach my home, that was some 500, 600 meters away from my home, and I took a turn from a highway to the side road. There were a couple of police people in police uniform. They were standing there, and they signaled me to park my car, move my car to a side. And when I moved the car, they came to my window and asked me to hand them over my ID card. So I handed my ID card over to them, and they didn't ask about any license or anything. They just asked about my identity card. So I gave my ID card. They checked the ID card, and one of the two people were standing there. One of the two kind of turned his face and said, he's the person. Then they brought another person. That was an old man with white beard and white hair. He also confirmed my identity to the person standing just beside my window. And after that, they kind of 8, 9 people came around that car, and one opened my door and pulled me out. There was some counselor, probably a counselor from PTI. He was in that area. There was a Juma Bazar at that place. So, so probably he was somewhere there. So he tried to interfere, but they hit him and threw him away and his motorcycle away. And then they handcuffed me, blindfolded me and then put a black hood on my head. And but I could see before them that there was a white double cabin that we say Dala, white Dala. There was a white Dala standing there with its face towards the highway. So they pushed me and took me there, and then they put me in that white Dala and started driving. I believe that I could not obviously be sure about time, but I believe that they traveled for 15, 20, 25 minutes. During that time, I asked them that where are you taking me? And they said that you're needed for some investigation. And I told them that I am a teacher at Fatima Jinnah University and you can take me to any. First, they tell me, where are you taking me? So they said that we are taking you to Lahore. So I told them that I'm a teacher here at a private public sector university. So you can take me to any, say, police station in Rawalpindi and ask me whatever you want. But they said, no, you are needed in Lahore. But he confirmed that, are you teaching at a public sector university at Fatima Jinnah? I said, yes, I am teaching there. So he said, okay. And then they went silent. And then they moved for 20-25 minutes and they stopped the car, got me off the car. And the two people, say, held me from my arms and took me to an office. They moved the hood, asked me for password for my social media sites, took my mobile phone. I didn't have that laptop with me. So they took my mobile phone and asked me for my identity. Then they asked them, do you know for what you are here? I said, I don't know. And they said, no, try to remember for what you have done. So I obviously back of the mind, every one of us has an understanding that if anyone can be, for me at least, it was clear that if somebody picks me up, it either will be ISI or will be Taliban. There is no third party that can be involved in. There's no kind of clash of my clash or any say difference of opinion other than these two parties in Pakistan. So I told them that probably it is Mochi. They said, okay, now you know why are you here? After that, they put the hood again and they took me down
One step flight of
one
stairs.
flight of stairs. One or two flights of stairs, I don't exactly remember now, but one or two flights of the stairs, and there they put me they asked me to stand with my face towards the wall. And obviously, I could not understand where the wall is. They just pushed me to the wall, and I stood there.
You
And
were blindfolded throughout, right?
yes, I was blindfolded and the hood and handcuffed. My hand were cuffed behind my back. So they bring some kind of lihaf or say that
Blanket.
yeah, blanket kind, not yeah, kind of blanket, and
Quilt.
they just made me sit on that blanket. And after some time, probably hours, I was sitting there. I didn't know who's around us, but there were people. Whenever say I try to speak, once or twice I tried to speak to ask somebody here. So they came and they slapped me and they said that you are not allowed to speak. So if you want to do something, or want to go to washroom or want to drink water, just cough and we'll be there. So they after at that night there was nothing that happened. They just, I don't know for how long I slept, because I was sleeping and getting up and sleeping and getting up again and again during that time. So after, I believe that it was the whole night, they took me to another room and started interrogation. And the questions were about my, say, activities on social media and how many times I have went out of Pakistan, why was there, who, say, invited me, who was my host, these kind of questions. And then about my bank accounts and if I have any plots or in my name, or how many cars I have, these kind of questions. So not much about what I did on what I was doing on my social media activity, but more about monetary, my financial life. So then they took me back to that place, and for 7 days, I believe they were 6 or 7 days. I was there, and during that time, they took me again and again to different, I believe, different or one room for interrogation. And during that interrogation, during the interrogation, they removed the hood and one of my handcuffs and cuffed it with a chair.
So, Salman, you have essentially given us like an initial picture of what happens. How is someone picked up? You were speaking about the double cabin or the Dala that we call it, which is also the Vigo. And in Pakistan, it is synonymous with enforced disappearances, like the white vans of Sri Lanka. And that's what you managed to see before you got blindfolded, basically, that day. This is, I believe, the first week of January. And at that time, the first location where you were, how long sort of did you know that your other co-admins, other bloggers of Mochi were also picked up during that time? Because three of them were. And also, what, if you want to share with us, how was the ill treatment? What is the degree of ill treatment? Because you have written about it in an Urdu publication before. So if you can tell us something about that time.
Two of the bloggers, they were picked up 2 days before me.
Mm.
They were picked up on 4th, I was picked up on 6th, and they were in Lahore,
Okay.
the other two. And when they picked me up, they said they are taking me to Lahore, but they didn't took me to Lahore. During those 7 days, that was very basic kind of questioning. There was one lecture. There was one person who came and he gave me a long lecture, probably 40-45 minutes, about 8th Amendment. Sorry, 18th Amendment. So I had written some pieces about 18th Amendment on my personal, say, profile wall, and not on the, say, on the page, but it was there on my person. So he gave a long lecture about interference, government. Why do I think that the army should not interfere into matters of government, and what has 18th Amendment done to Pakistan, and a long thing. So with the idea that it is damaging army and damaging the defense of Pakistan and all that, specifically about 18th Amendment, but generally about you are doing theater because you think the theater happening in Pakistan is not good. So if army say is interfering into politics because politicians are not good, so why you have bothered to question it, or what's your objection to it? These kind of, there was a 45-minute lecture once. Other than that, that was very basic information that they asked. So I only had one that account in one bank account. That was my salary account. So they asked me about my other bank accounts, but there was no other. So when they asked me about that bank account, obviously they started once I told them that there's only. They said no, that there are, you have other bank accounts, but they are not in your name, and you are using. And after that, obviously they tortured me. They were hitting with pipes and say what we call chitar in Pakistan. So that and they kind of hit with, after almost every interrogation, there was a small session of um, torture. And during that
Every day.
8, I believe 7 days, there were 14, 15 sessions of interrogation and this thing. Then after that end of seventh day, they said that they say got me up to three more than the stairs of the flights of stairs that they brought me, 3, 4 flights of stairs. They took me up and made me sit somewhere, and obviously it was covered, so I could not see anything. Then they took me up and they said that, do you want your dead body to be thrown in Faisalabad or in Chinno? So I was living in Islamabad, but my family is in Faisalabad, and Chinno is my native city. So tell us if you want your dead body to be thrown in Faisalabad or in Chinno. So I thought that, okay, Chinno is a small city and probably we have been living there for long, so probably somebody will recognize me. So I told them that you better throw my dead body to in Chinno. So after that, they started torture. They hit me for, I don't remember how long, but it was long time. And they say put some electric current to my body. And after maybe 30 minutes, or I can't remember the time. Then they took me down and threw me in a, say, car or truck. I cannot say, because obviously after that I didn't have much to not observing anything. Yes, after
Yeah.
that all torture, I was not in a condition to observe. So they put me in some vehicle and they put me in front of that back seat. They have foot to place at space. They put me in that space, and then after that they started moving, the car started moving, or the vehicle started moving, and they again drive for 20-25 minutes. I believe that it was 20-25 minutes. And then there was, say, I would say that there was a steep slope that they got
Hmm.
up of that steep slope, and after that steep slope, they got me off the car. There was a door of a big iron door that say
Wow.
opened, and they opened, and then they pushed me in. At that time, they took my hood off and got my
The
say
blindfold.
yes, that blindfold off, and there was one person making a video in front of me, and there was one person taking pictures. And then they took pictures for a few minutes that was off. They took my pictures. Then the person obviously made video, I believe, because there was a light actually on my face, and it appeared that it was camera because it was moving on my different sides of face, and they took a kind of all the sides of my face, took the video, recorded the video for that. And after that recording, they again blindfolded me and took me in. And then they made me sit outside a room. And at that time, I heard Waqas Goraya for the first time. So he was being tortured inside some room, and he was crying, and he was. So I heard those, and I understood that, okay, that is Waqas Goraya, at least in the ground.
You could
So
tell straight
sorry?
away. You could tell straight away
Yes,
from his
yes.
voice.
I and Waqas Goraya have been together in two hostels for more than 4 or 5 years.
Okay, okay.
So I obviously recognized him that it is Waqas Goraya.
He is
After
the,
that,
for the sake of our viewers, he's the other one of the other bloggers who was the admin of the page. He's still very active online and is in exile. So just to come in and mention who Waqas Goraya is. Also, just quickly, we want to get to this second location, but so you have told us about the electrocution, torture through electrocution and other repeated sessions of tortures within like a week, I believe. And some were extreme. You're saying that you were in a condition where you needed medical assistance. You already had a medical condition. So
yes.
would after all that torture and ill treatment, which you have also written about, would they provide medication or just like leave you to it or
No, no,
let you?
they didn't provide any medication. They just do that, and then they'll put in the place where they
Hmm,
say where I was kind of living for those 7 days. So
hmm.
they'll get me back to that position and that to the place, and they no medical thing was provided. So when
Okay.
they moved me to the next place,
You,
they make me
you
sit into.
discovered Vakas.
Yes, there I say heard Waqas, and that place. Then they at that I don't remember, but I was there after outside that room for a couple of hours probably. But they took that Waqas outside of their room because, or at least Waqas was got silent after some time. So for some time, 10-15 minutes, I heard him crying, and I heard him say. Um, I heard that he was crying, and he was trying to say control his um, himself and his reaction to that torture.
Hmm.
So after that, probably I was there for 1 or 2 hours. It was some tiled kind of floor, and it was cold. So and I didn't have much on my. There were no socks or boots, so I still remember that it was cold in that place. After that, they took me to some room, and they got my blindfold and that hood removed, and again they took pictures. And then during that time, they asked me to lower my trousers and took my pictures of my obviously penis. And though I don't know why was it necessary, but yeah, it was one of the things. It was obviously, but it was one of we used to think. We used to read about Bengalis that they were very much interested to see if they are Muslims or they are Hindus. By
Hmm.
say taking pictures or by seeing that if they are say circumcised or not. So, but that was probably, I don't know if the process is there up till now. But they took pictures, and it happened more than 2-3 times during that stay in the second place, that they asked us to say bring our trousers down and took pictures. And once it was a doctor, he also checked. So, but at that time they brought me to a room, and after bringing me to a room, they removed the blindfolds and hood and my say handcuffs. And that room was a big room, not small one, probably 8 to 10 feet, kind of on one side, 10 feet square kind of place. And there was a bulb just outside the door. The door was double door. One had that bars, and the other one is full door. So if they close both the doors, you could not see outside. At the top of the door, there was a say corridor from which they walked me and put me in that room. And so at outside that door, there was a bulb that was Russian. There was that was say there on, and it was on for all the time. And there was a camera on that
in that
the roof
room.
of that. Yeah, on the top of that wall side, one of the walls. So they, after that, they came there again and checked me if I had any kind of paper or anything with me. And after that, they took, they also had my shoes and socks taken away when they brought me to the, just I entered, they took that away. After that, one of the person came and he gave me two blankets. So it was very cold because it was January, and the floor was very cold. So I used those uh, blankets, and I was there for almost rest of the all of my time. But what was after that 5, 6, 7 days when I transferred to there was no torture after. There was interrogation, but no torture after that. There at that time they brought a doctor, got me checked, provided some medicine, and that was something that they did there. And after that, they did a lie detection test and asked me about my links to Baloch. Abbas asked me about my links to MQM because I had, say, written happy birthday to Altaf Hussain at some time. And there were people who were being picked up after for say participating in that birthday parties that the MQM arranged for Altaf Hussain in Karachi. So I commenting on that, writing a satirical comment. I wrote that happy birthday Altaf Hussain, and after that I wrote don't pick me up, I am a Punjabi. I wrote it in Punjabi. That Meruna Chukia ji, I am a Punjabi. So they asked me why have you wished him birthday. So they asked me that, and they asked that was a part of the interrogation. But at that time, my links with MQM, my links with Baloch, my links with India, my links with CIA, and all that kind of. There were questions that in that lie detection.
And they had no idea that like you wrote a lot of poetry and a lot of such writing by you
No,
was
when
satire.
in the second phase, the second interrogation, that was majorly about my writings. When I was when I was in the second building, the interrogation was majorly about my writings.
And they didn't know that you wrote satire. A lot of people knew that about you by that time.
No,
Like
no,
you
no,
wrote
no, no.
poetry, critical poetry. They had no idea.
That was for a number of things. I had to tell them that it is satire. When there was one when they were when they when I was in the second building, there were a couple of visits by psychologists. There were 3 psychologists. One was a woman, all covered in burqa. There were 2 people having medical masks and caps on their heads. And because I have my doctorate in psychology. When I went there, they gave me some tests. And I told you that I have done these a number of times and I know the interpretation. There were house 3% tests for personality and all. So I told them that these are the tests, and I know these tests, and I know what you are trying to do, and obviously I can forge them, or I can play them in a way that you don't know. So why are you giving it to me? They said, okay, no, don't worry, you have to draw a house, a tree, and a person. So I said, okay, they said, okay, you could, but just leave it and you draw whatever you want to. So I draw a house and a tree and a person. After that, they gave me a sentence completion test. That sentence completion test they had probably made for Taliban. So for that, they had written, okay, complete the sentence, my commander, my war. So I told them, I have no war, I have no commander. But I wrote the name of my head of the department as my commander. I was teaching at the department. I said, she's my commander. Because she's my supervisor. There's no commander that I have. So because when I wrote the name, there was a lady. So they asked that if your commander a lady, I told them that she is my head of the department. I teach at a university. So what can I write about my commander? So then my war. So I obviously said that I don't have a war. They said, okay, fill it whatever you can. So I filled that the thing, and they then that was the first meeting. After that, they brought me back, and there were a couple of more visits by psychologists, and again. After that, they brought a long questionnaire, and that questionnaire was about my political views. And that questionnaire was not a in previously prepared questionnaire, because they had a few papers, and in handwriting they have written with ballpoint some question on that.
Okay.
Okay, so when they were interrogating me, they questioned about when they asked me that when they uh, questioned me that um, you're trying to mm, spread some rumors about army. That was obviously they were figures were exaggerated, because I was writing satire. Figures were very, very exaggerated, and obviously had written in a way that people knew that it is not actually say truth that I am trying to say, but it is in a way satirical. So they said that you are trying to spread rumors about army, and I told them that these are not rumors, because the numbers that are unbelievable. So everyone who reads know that these are unbelievable, and so that's why that is the way satire is written, probably one of the ways. So when they after some interrogation, they brought that questionnaire, and it had all my understanding of role of army in politics. Right, there were pages that probably they wanted me to write essays about that. So there was a big questionnaire. And then one of the questions that I remember was difference between rumors and satire. So they asked me that these kind of role of the problems with Pakistani politics, role of India, Pakistani army in politics, my opinion about generally about, not specifically anyone, but generally about my opinion about the politicians. These kind of things were there. What problems do I see in Pakistan? There were these kind of open-ended questions were there. They gave me that questionnaire, and I filled it as much as I could. So they took that questionnaire and pen back. One of the activity was this, and then again there was not much to do in that room. And I got all I could do was trying thinking, and I know that if I continued that, I will lose my mind. So I asked them to give me some book, if I can get some book to read. And there was a person that was in charge of the persons who provided us food, or who answered if we called somebody to come here and listen to us. So there was kind of supervisor who they all called him commander. So when I asked one person, they brought food, I asked one person that if I can get a book, and he said that I have to ask the commander. So in that night, a commander came, and or I don't know if it was night or morning. The commander came, and he asked me that why do you want to read what kind of a book you want to read, and why do you want to read a book? And I told him that there's nothing much to do. I don't know what I can do. Give me pen or paper. Probably I can write something, because I write poems. Give me a pen or paper, and I can do that. I want to do that, and or give me a book to read. The book was a PhD thesis by a naval commander from Islamia University, Bahawalpur. And that was about some naval, it was about development of first ship or kind of arm that say naval ship in Mavia's era and all that. And that was published by that Jamatul Dawa publications. And that naval commanders, he wrote that it was a PhD thesis by, I don't remember the name, but Commander X and XYZ, and that was published by Jamatul Dawa. So I read that book. That was a big book. So I read that book in 2-3 days, and obviously after that they took that book back and it's asked them to give me another book, but they didn't. So that was actually that majorly the things that I remember from that time.
So, did they ask you to sign an affidavit or a document of some?
Yes. Thank you. When they left me, when they were releasing me, they took me to a place. There was a meeting before that releasing me, one day before or a few hours before that releasing me. There was a meeting, and that was the only meeting where I was not blindfolded. So there was a guy sitting in dressed guy sitting in front of me on a sofa, and then along with him there was another guy with long hair, and he was kind of bodyguard of him or these kind of probably that was a strong guy. So he asked me about my activities and said that, okay, you were doing this and you were doing that, and that was probably you could not have done, and that was the problem. Otherwise, we respect teachers and all that. And I would visit you someday in the university and all that. Okay, that's what I said. After that, they took me back to room and I didn't know what that was. And he said that we are releasing you very soon. I didn't know what the race because when the time when they took me from first building, first they said that they are releasing me, then they asked me that they are going to kill me. So I didn't know if they are going to release me or whatever. They asked me to sign an affidavit. It actually was not an affidavit, it was a scanned image of an affidavit on an A4 size paper. Legal size is different. I could see that it is not an affidavit. It was an affidavit image scanned on a paper, A4 size paper. So they said that write it that you were you became a part of an international gang of there, and it was a conspiracy against Pakistan, and you were a part of it, and you want to be say pardoned for it, and this kind of stuff. So I told them that okay, I was not part of any international group and I cannot write that. So he said that, okay, you can write, you unknowingly become a part of an international. I said, okay, I can write that. So I wrote that and I signed that. They signed that so-called affidavit. And after that, they put me in a van that was, because door was sliding door. So they rolled the door and then it got closed. So I could recognize that it was probably a van because we usually with vans we have that sliding doors. So after that they again drove for 20 minutes and took a number of turns, and after that they opened the door, took me out, and they said that if you turn back or try to see us, we'll kill you. So just stay there. Once we are gone, then you can open your eyes or open that blindfold, and then you can no blind. They have opened the blindfold. They said that sit there and don't try to look back. If you try to look back, we'll kill you. And once we are gone, then you can go back. And they said that there's a railway crossing. Get up and start moving this way. In which way they have say where my face was, and there's a railway crossing there. And from there you can probably get some transport. So I got up, and that the two bags were with me, and I started walking. And then there was a side board on the side of the road. I read that board. It was some school in Sahala. So I know that okay, somewhere near GT Road. So I kept moving there. A couple of motorcycles passed, and I waved them to stop, but they didn't. And then outside a closed shop, there was a person who was talking on
A mobile.
phone, on a mobile phone. So I asked him how far is GT Road. He said that you have to travel, if you want to go by, say, if you travel a couple of 1.5 hours or 2 hours, you will reach GT Road. When I'm again away, I kept walking. There was a railway line there, and then there was a police van standing there. So it was parked alongside that railway fatak and railway crossing, and I went to him. And when they were releasing me, they said that there's a blasphemy case registered against you.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to come to. Like, when did you find about? When did you
When
find
they
out about the blasphemy case?
when they were releasing me, they said that you should go, but don't go to media and don't talk to anybody. Just just be silent, stay in your house, and because there's a blasphemy case registered against you. So when I was passing that railway crossing, I was feeling okay if I should go to that police guy or not. If there's a blasphemy case against me, going to police is obviously not easy, and the kind of process for that blasphemy cases that we have, and what has been happening to people who have blasphemy cases registered. So I was fearing if I should go or I should not go. But I think that okay, I'll cross the line, and if he calls me, I'll go. Otherwise, I'll keep walking. So when I was crossing the line, he asked me to come to him, and when I to him, he said that there were you were waving to some motorcycles back there. I said yes. So he said, "Who are you? From where you are coming?" So I told him, "But my name is Salman Haider, and I'm coming from." Some car dropped me. There were some people who had abducted me, and a car dropped me there, and I am walking this way. So he kind of, because there was a lot of media thing, he kind of recognized me.
Yeah, so this is what I wanted to mention, that your face was the face of that campaign.
Yeah.
I mean, you were identified as the sole person, and you were. I remember you were all over Facebook and Twitter with that false allegation. You were also misidentified for a while. Your
Yeah.
name was linked to another page,
Yes,
uh,
yes, yes,
not as so much as the other bloggers who were picked up. So you
yes,
were very easily, but also for the campaign to get you released, your face was all over the posters.
yes, yes.
So by then you didn't know the intensity of that
No,
campaign.
I didn't know that. I didn't know when I met that police guy. I didn't know what's happening, what has been happening. So when he asked me to sit down, that in that police van, and he asked that there are some oranges there. If you want to eat something, have you eaten something? So he was kind of not behaving as a police wala in Pakistan. So I thought that okay, probably it is. Then he said that there's a whole lot of activity going on for you. Do you know? I said, I don't know. And then he wirelessed that I'm there, and he wirelessed to his, then received instruction probably to take me to the police station.
So this also connects to Aurea Maqbool Jan, who is this writer slash TV personality and a right-wing writer himself, who has since 2016 amplified multiple campaigns and has called for, on mainstream media, primetime television, has called for very strict action, incited violence and hate against people, including you and others, bloggers. And of course, then there was the mainstream media thing by the late Amir Liaquat, who was also a politician, member of the National Assembly, and like a televangelist. So that campaign was massive online. It was
Yeah.
fabricated. It went on for a while. Then you were acquitted in the case, but it was serious. Did you, when you came back and went online, when did you realize that it was very serious and it was very intense and it was like a threat to your life? I mean, you
I
were
didn't,
disappeared for about, it was a short-term disappearance as it they're
yeah, as
identified.
compared to other. Yes,
It was like 20 days, 22 days,
27 days probably.
27 or
21,
20,
no, 21, 21, 22 days.
21, 22 days. Okay. So when did you realize that things were not feasible and you could not stay back in Pakistan? Because now you're in Canada, you had to flee, as they
Yeah.
say.
I didn't went online after coming back. It took me almost a year. After a year, I went online. But my brothers were there. They told me there were people who were in contact. They told me. So I kind of scanned social media from my brother's account. to
Okay.
see what's happening around when he told that there was a big campaign and all that. So I scanned that social media from my brother's account and saw what's happening around. So it was obviously I didn't know that this big campaign is, and obviously that and both the sides, the supporters as well as the Bull TV and Auria
Mm.
Makbul Jan and Amir Liaquat, and there were
Mainstream.
a couple
Yeah.
more. So I didn't know that that blasphemy thing is so big.
Mm.
I thought that okay, probably some clerics have tried to get a blasphemy thing registered against us, but I didn't know that campaign. So when I got to know, I was obviously very frightened. I tried to say contact I had some friends in different places that are considered influential places. So I
Mm.
contacted them. Generally, I'm talking about that bureaucracy. So I contacted them and tried to evaluate what was my situation and what was the thing. So they also said me that you just stay silent and stay in your home, don't go outside, try to avoid your place where you have been living, try to avoid the place where your parents are living or your brother is living. So, and other than that, they said that okay, things are in control now. But that after that,
You
I
had children who had to go to school and all. So how did they cope? Your family.
my son was going to school, and the school that all the school management, then they called my wife and told them that we have no problem with him coming to school, but there are children who have heard it from their parents, and they are
Mm.
creating a problem for him in school. And there are people who are coming to us and asking us that we should remove him from school, my son from school.
Because of the
So
disappearance or because of the blasphemy campaign?
the blasphemy game,
Mm.
the blasphemy game. So after that blasphemy thing start, there were people during that being disappeared. When I was disappeared, and there was no blasphemy campaign. There was a general trend of sympathy. People were
Mm.
sympathetic, but when this happened, they came and they told him that it is an issue, and if you can do that, please do that. When I was after that, they didn't send him to school, and they tried to keep him away from television as well, because there was all the day there were pictures and there were news and all that going on. So they tried to keep him away. But through another kid, he got to know that they told him that I have gone to for some job somewhere and I'll be back in some days. So, but through some person, some kid, there was my relative living in a street nearby. So my family sent him to, okay, you can go and play with their son and all that. So when went there and played, when he was playing with their son, he was also a kid. He told him that, okay, do you know where your father is? And he answered, I don't know. He said he has been picked up. So when he
Mm.
came back, and then he was very disturbed. And then again, obviously, they decided that before that they had taken him out of school. He was off, not him taken him out of, but he was off from school. He was not going to school because there were a number of my family. My parents was in my home. One of my uncles was there. My brothers were visiting again and again. So he knew there's something happening.
When did you
Uh,
leave Pakistan?
I left Pakistan almost a month after getting released. During that month, I was living in Faisalabad or in Lahore and different places.
Did you leave with the kids and wife?
Yes, no, I didn't live with my kids of five. I got to know that Lal Masjid cleric, Maulvi
Mm.
Ihtisham, that um, nephew
Hafiz.
of, yes,
Mm.
yes, Hafiz Ihtisham, they were trying to register an FIR against.
Another
And
one.
and no, not there was no blasphemy FIR before that. They were trying to get an FIR against for me against me for blasphemy. So before that they have tried, but there through some people we have come into contact. Chaudhry Nisar was the home
Interior
minister
Minister.
at that time, and he
Okay.
was told by some people who were his friends and who also knew my family, and they told him that it is not blasphemy thing at all. It
Mm.
is army thing.
Mm.
So what I have come to know is that he said, okay, if it is not blasphemy, it will be a serious thing to put blasphemy against him. So
Mm.
I won't let somebody get an FIR against him. So
Mm.
he kind of tried, probably, because because they tried in a number of cities to get a um, FIR registered against me, but they could not. At last, they say submitted a petition in Islamabad High Court, and in that Islamabad High Court, the case was assigned to Shaukat Siddiqui. And Shaukat Siddiqui, we knew that he has some leanings towards religious organizations, religious group. So it was a threat for me. I got to know that they probably are taking action in a couple of days through some friends. And then I, let's say, applied for a visa to Sri Lanka and left Pakistan.
So, yeah, and you've mentioned Hafiz Ehtesham, who is basically affiliated with the Lal Masjid, and he's also been affiliated for the past few years with a group, a collective, which leads this crusade against alleged blasphemy online. He's also one of those people who, through an investigation, has been revealed, and some of the work that we have done, we can say, are at sort of a part of a group which traps people in false blasphemy cases and uses social media and technology to create this trap, and these are fabricated cases. So but in 2017, when this thing started against the blogger, this was one of the first cases where there was this intersection of enforced disappearances and online expression, social media, and also a false allegation of blasphemy. Right after that, we saw quite a few cases of online blasphemy. We had a case. It's not that we didn't have a case, sorry, multiple cases. This was sort of it was getting more organized. These groups were getting more organized afterwards. So to come back to the point that you and the other bloggers, they had to leave Pakistan, right, in order to be safe. So you left you're saying for Sri Lanka, and actually you are now in Canada, and then your family joined you. But like when you left, did you know that you were going for so long? Because now you're in exile.
No, I didn't know that, because the idea, at least for me at that time, was that I go to Sri Lanka, stay, because they gave me 45 days visa, and I was informed that okay, they can extend for at least 45 more days. So for me the plan was that I'll stay 45 days and then again get a 45, and then I'll move to Dubai and stay there, and when in 6 months, 5 months, things will be cool down, and then I'll come back. That was the time. But when I was in Sri Lanka, Mishal Khan thing happened.
Okay.
Mishal was killed when I was.
2017, yes.
Yeah. So after that, I decided that probably it is not the time for me to go back.
Mishal Khan was this student
The
at
student
university.
Was killed in University KP.
Or over again, false allegations of blasphemy. For the sake of our viewers, it was one of those very glaring cases, and he was from the majoritarian faith, so it was not even a minority. You, Salman, you are Shia, so there was added vulnerability.
Yes, that was an added vulnerability. Then one thing, that when Mashal thing had happened, Mashal shared a poem written by Mubashir Zaidi when I was abducted. And in probably a month or 2 months and 2.5 months, he was killed for blasphemy. So that kind of was a point when I started thinking that I probably should not go back to Pakistan for at least until until I know that okay, things have settled down, and I know that.
Just to bring this to a conclusion, is that so one thing that when people leave, there's no when they're trying to save their lives after something like this happens, because in your case it was double, right? It was the military security establishment, and then this other wing, the clerics, were after you. But people have to, like, people who are in exile are not there because of because they chose to be in exile. It's there because that they're unable to come back and be safe. there's a target on their backs. So that's that. But just quickly at the end, that case you did get acquitted, you and others, and it got concluded that, you know, it was quashed, whatever the process had started. But just sort of last question, how is it sort of, especially the first few years, how do you cope with like the trauma, having been through something as brutal as torture during your during an enforced disappearance, and then also the repercussions of sort of having to deal with a blasphemy case? So if you could just speak a bit about
It is
that with.
difficult. It is difficult due to that. I came to Canada. I landed in USA, but I came to Canada due to that. After the torture thing, there was a number of things that happened. I was hit in my head and developed post-trauma epilepsy after that, and there were a number of other things that happened. And in
Mental burden.
USA, health is obviously not affordable for without any job or without any insurance thing. So I decided that I should go to Canada because I cannot go for any say work and cannot earn money if I am not healthy, in at least in some condition to work. So I moved to Canada. That was the basic reason. And it is difficult to obviously kind of, if you are uprooted and you don't have any plans, you come to a place where you don't know many people, you have to develop a new social circle. And but generally there were people who have been very helpful, and the people usually who are helpful are the ones who have some kind of political leaning or some kind of connection to some political, not only specifically any liberal or any other political party. There were people who were centrist, but they came forward and helped me. There were people who had, say, different businesses in Pakistan, and for some kind of things happening, they were up in Pakistan, and due to the excesses of army and all that, they had to leave Pakistan. So they knew kind of what's happening in Pakistan. They supported me in a number of ways. The person who, say, brought me to USA and established that, say, established
Fellowship.
that fellowship, he obviously was very helpful. And there were a number of people, but it is difficult. It is difficult. You don't have any plans for economic activity. You don't have any job. You have to say, I would say that though it has been, I came in 2017, at the end of 2017. So though it has been almost 7 years, but I'm still struggling, still trying to get myself established. And obviously for 7 years, I haven't been able to see any person from my immediate family. And I obviously cannot go back to Pakistan. So obviously there is my parents, they, though we come in to contact often, almost every other day, but they are say they want to meet my son. And obviously he has grown, so probably the time he could have spent with them, he could have spent it with his cousin, the time I could have spent with my brothers, or there are emotional traumas, and there's something happening. My father-in-law passed away, and my wife could not go. So there is an emotional cost for all that. There is an emotional cost. So not only financial things happen. I can we made through this for 7 years. We probably will do forward, move forward. I think that things happen, but emotional cost is something that you cannot say get off. It cannot recover.
Yeah, you
So
cannot.
these things happen. You get cut off from my family. I got cut off my family and all this. So these are problems. When there's any function or any ceremony or anything at my home, they try to connect me through phone or through Zoom call or through anything. But that is kind of thing that hurts more, that you are not there. You can just see that. You can be a part of that.
The separation from family.
Yeah, separation from family. Then again, your whole kind of circle, not only family, friends, colleagues, all people you are just got away. There were connections. I don't know when the people I knew at that time, I don't know where they are. A number of them, where they are. So that is something, a part is missing.
Thanks to our viewers for watching. Khuda Hafiz.